From flat entities to turning every mob into a sheep, here are the most illegal Minecraft things. Why is my head like this? Normally in Minecraft, your head can only move so far, but with the Pitchy mod, it disables the limits for how far up or down you can look, so you can completely turn your head. It makes doing loops with an extra elytra possible, which is quite cool from the first-person perspective, but it looks kind of freaky looking from third person. Help, I'm squished! Normally when an anvil falls on your head, it just deals damage, but if you want to make things a bit funnier, try using the Squished mod, which makes anvils squish your player model. It also works on other mobs too, so you can squish things like slimes and pigs. Everyone knows about the skeleton horse. 4 of them spawn whenever you get near a skeleton horse trap. However, these horses always spawn as adults, and they're impossible to breed. Now, this may seem completely fine, but it also means that you'll almost never see the baby skeleton horse variant. If you really want to see the baby horse, you can spawn it in creative mode though. I found you! Now die! I just found a new way to draw in Minecraft. It's with villagers. You see, by running this command, you can make villagers spawn right in front of you, and you can write all sorts of things. Although it's quite difficult to create something beautiful, it's quite funny seeing all the villagers just floating around in the sky. What's even better is that you can swap the villagers out for any other mob like creepers or even happy ghast. Drawing with happy ghast is especially cool because you can walk on top of their solid hitboxes after you're done. Why do these mobs look so dumb? Bugs look a bit too tall. This camel's got long legs and tiny hands. Magma cubes have a gap in the middle with teeth. At least this sheep is normal. Oh, come on! Even the wall looks scuffed with the sheep's head still attached. All these cursed textures are actually a part of the stupid craft resource pack. The nether is too hot! If you're tired of the fiery hot nether, try using the flooded nether mod, which replaces every air pocket with water. I love just swimming through here, and it's much easier to kill the blazes. However, the flooded nether feels pretty illegal since you normally can't even place a single block of water here. Check out these dancing mobs. The Every X dance mob makes mobs dance after killing enemies, surviving from a war, or breeding. It was inspired from this funny video where hoglins danced after killing a piglin. If you're building a tiny 1-block tall house and need an entrance, most players will just use a regular trapdoor. But as an even better solution, if you have access to commands, you can set block either the upper or lower part of the door individually and they'll still be functional. This lets you have an actual door for your tiny homes instead of having to settle with trapdoors. You know how ice is normally the only block that makes you slide around? Yeah, well, this mod completely changes that. It's called the Everything Ice mod, and it makes every block in the game slippery. Grass is slippery, sand is slippery, even soul sand somehow is also slippery. You'll go to fight a creeper and accidentally drift past it and explode! This ice also messes up every single parkour course and makes them easier with the momentum. Check out this baby enderman, or this baby creeper. If you want more mobs to be able to have babies in Minecraft, you should try out the More Babies mod. It adds in a ton of baby variants for the other mobs. However, if you want these babies without downloading any mods, you can also just use the scale attribute command to shrink mobs and make them look like babies. This isn't a wandering trader, but a trading wanderer. This resource pack swaps the llamas and the traders so that the llama is now in charge. It feels so wrong seeing this, but oddly kind of right too. Maybe it's better this way. What is wrong with this villager's face? Its face is coming out from the top of its head. When I hold an item, the villager gets excited and its head pokes upwards. This is a part of the Stonks Minecraft mod that slightly changes how villagers look. Check out this flying villager. If you're tired of boring and annoying phantoms attacking you, a fun surprise could be using the Strange Villager resource pack that retextures phantoms into flying villagers. Although they're still annoying, it's a pleasant surprise to see these guys flying towards you. I don't have emeralds, I swear! There used to be a button called Super Secret Settings in 1.8.9, and when you clicked it, a random filter would get applied over your game that completely distorted your game. I remember clicking it and couldn't figure out how to disable it, so I had to completely reinstall Minecraft. If you want to bring this feature to the newer versions, try out the Super Secret Settings mod. With this mod, whenever you drink beetroot soup, a random insane filter will get applied. Luckily, to remove this effect, it's quite simple, and you just have to drink some milk. Villagers are quite selfish and have these giant noses all for themselves, so this mod creator decided to share the love. Now you can find the noses on all kinds of other mobs like bees, creepers, and ghasts. Now they can finally smell the beautiful world around them. This is the reverse MLG. Most players will try to MLG by falling down and then clutching with a water bucket or even a ladder, but the reverse MLG changes this. Instead of falling down, you'll be going upwards. If you throw an ender pearl at the ceiling and quickly place a weeping vine, you can stick to the ceiling. This may seem completely useless at first, but it's very useful if there's a large pool of lava below you that's impossible to clutch on. I'm the reverse MLG master! This is Brickcraft. It's a resource pack that makes every Minecraft texture look like Lego pieces. pieces. The pack was in development for over 3 years and has custom brick sounds for explosions, walking, and attacking. Swimming through the oceans looks absolutely incredible, or watching leaves burn from trees. There's even a separate minifigure pack that makes your player model look like a Lego figure. However, while this pack is incredible, the creator of the pack, Alex, has unfortunately passed away due to cancer. Everyone knows you can shear a sheep, but ever wanted to shear a cow? You're able to shear sheeps for wool instead of having to kill the sheep, so this mod creator thought cows should have the same feature, but for leather. The Shear a Cow mod lets you shear cows just like sheep for leather. The only issue is that the leather doesn't grow back on the cow. I'm so sorry. This is Minecraft Cursed Edition. It's a texture pack that makes all of Minecraft's mobs look incredibly cursed. Now, what makes this pack special is that it also randomizes textures between the same mob, so no two mobs look the exact same. Most people think bedrock is just a block in Minecraft, but it's a real type of rock in real life. In Minecraft, bedrock is impossible to mine with a pickaxe, but in real life, it's actually possible to break. So, to make Minecraft more accurate, try using the Breaking Bedrock mod by Awesome Guy. That actually makes mining bedrock possible. This feels so cursed, though. We all know how to craft a wooden pickaxe. We just need 2 sticks and 3 planks. Wait, that's not right? Well, that's because a fun Minecraft challenge can be playing with the random crafting mod that shuffles every single crafting recipe. I dare you to try beating Minecraft like this. Villagers are one of the ugliest mobs in Minecraft, so to make them a little cuter, try out the Axolotl Villagers pack. It completely revamps all of them to look like little axolotls. It's adorable how they're still wearing their villager outfits. But it gets even better. You can also use the Axolotl Illagers pack to transform the enemies into cute axolotl variants as well. Watching the Illagers take out the villagers is so cute. You guys got this. Minecraft rain isn't realistic because the rain doesn't collect on the ground and build up. So if you want to make things a bit more realistic, try the Flash Flood mod that allows water to build up whenever it rains. Every time it rains, water source blocks begin to appear around you, gradually flooding the area. The flooding isn't instantaneous, but if you're not careful, you could find yourself swimming in no time. If you summon a minecart on top of an axolotl and then hop in, it may seem really slow at first, but once you let the axolotl enter the water, you'll realize it's quite fast. Now, if you summon a boat on top of an axolotl, you can actually steer the boat while it's on top of the axolotl. Unfortunately, it won't control where the axolotl is going, but it's so funny to look at. This is a normal bed, and this is an inverted bed. Found in the inverted bed mod, it lets you sleep through the day to make it turn night. They look more fitting placed on ceilings, in my opinion. This is a bed boat, and yep, it works exactly how you expect. It's quite literally a boat you can ride in and sleep in at the same time. When you use it, your respawn point also gets set at the location of the bed boat, so it's useful too. It's part of the Sweet Dreams mod, and it even has minecart bed variants. You can even push other mobs into these beds, and they look so funny as they're sleeping and riding at the same time. I just found an illegal Minecraft mod, and it technically breaks the game. Normally, all living mobs in Minecraft are rendered in full 3D, which gives them depth and volume, but the Flatter Entities mod completely changes that. This mod turns every living mob, from villagers and pigs to bees and iron golems, into flat, two-dimensional sprites. They still move and behave like normal, but visually, they look like paper cutouts walking around in a 3D world. The idea for this mod was inspired by Minecraft's old 3D shareware April Fool's update, where mobs were intentionally made 2D as a joke. The most items you can normally stack in Minecraft is 64, but what if you want something higher, like 100 items, 1,000 items, or even 1,000,000 items in a single stack? Well, then you should get the Stacker mod that lets you stack up items to 1,000,000,000 items in a single slot. Check out my skinned minecarts. Normal minecarts are all gray and boring, but not anymore. With the skinned carts mod, it introduces all sorts of mob-themed minecarts like this pufferfish cart, panda cart, and even sea turtle cart. They're all fully functional, but they kind of look like a mob was killed and then wrapped around a minecart. Check out my working vacuum. It's fully possible in survival Minecraft. You see, below the carpet, you'll find a villager riding a pig inside of a minecart. This makes it so just the top hat of the villager sticks out of the floor. Next, when you cover the floor up with carpets, the villager will pick up food items like potatoes, bread, carrots. These aren't spyglasses, they're binoculars. If you've ever felt like the spyglass view in Minecraft was too small, check out the binoculars texture pack by Storm Dragon. It transforms a tiny spyglass circle into a wide rectangular view, just like real binoculars. If you think this is cheating, it's really not, because you can always just press F1 to hide hide the black overlay from the spyglass. If you really hate villagers, you should put on an ominous banner to start a raid. It's part of the Attack on Villager mod, and you can join the pillagers in their raid on the villagers. Here, you can ride on ravagers, reef the village, and mug villagers. However, be careful, villagers can actually fight back in this mod. I'm sorry, take your emeralds back! Are you tired of Minecraft's boring physics? Well then, you need to try the Minecraft Physics mod. It brings in crazy ocean physics, making boat rides way more exciting, and even tiny ponds look stunning. Burning down villages is a lot more satisfying with all the smoke physics. Even snow is fully overhauled too. It's thick, leaves trails as you walk through it, and feels a lot more real. Breaking blocks now leave behind chunks, which makes explosions feel incredibly satisfying. Cave vines even sway out of your way as you walk through them. But the best part, mobs go ragdoll mode when you attack them. If you place this sand, you'll notice that it falls upwards instead of down. And that's not the craziest part. You can grow sugarcane and cactus upside down, and it'll grow while hanging from the ceiling. It's part of the illegal building mod, and it also has a special stone that can be placed outside of Minecraft's usual grid. There are even log blocks that show the trunk texture on all faces, not just on the top and sides. What's wrong with this minecart? If it looks like it's filled with soup, that's because it is! The Chowder Express mod introduces minecarts filled with soup that you can ride in, and it's not just visual. You can actually drink the soup you're riding in. Ew, gross. This is the Cursed Diamond Sword, and it's just as chaotic as it sounds. Found in the Cursed Items mod, it's crafted using an upside-down diamond sword recipe. When you strike a mob with it, they're launched into the air and slammed back down hard. The Cursed Pickaxe is just as overpowered, instantly mining a 3x3 area with a single swing. Then there's a Cursed Hoe. It can till soil like normal, but also applies bone meal to a full 3x3 patch of land at once. And finally, the Cursed TNT looks like a ramp, and when it explodes, it sets nearby mobs on fire. This isn't a normal skeleton, but a hyper skeleton. The hyper skeleton mod adds a skeleton that rapid fires arrows like its life depends on it, and it's almost like he has a machine gun. I know what will stop it. An iron golem! Okay, I'm screwed. After you see this, you won't ever want to kill another axolotl. This is the buff axolotl, and it looks absolutely terrifying. If you punch him, he'll yeet you into the sky, and you may notice something. This is actually a retextured iron golem using the buff axolotl texture pack. If you hold up a gun to the villagers, they'll actually freeze in place and drop all their goods before running off. This is in the Mugging Villagers mod by Wobbs, and it lets you rob villagers at gunpoint and steal their items. Once you do so, the villager becomes homeless, unable to get a new job, breed, and most importantly, be mugged again. I don't remember mugging wandering traders though. Gosh darn it! Ever wanted your mobs to roll around like this? Yeah, me neither. But with the Rolling Mobs resource pack, every mob looks like it's rolling instead of walking. Cows, sheep, villagers, they all roll like they've got no legs. Even the Ender Dragon spins through the sky like it forgot how to fly. Villagers and iron golems actually have pretty similar head shapes. They've both got long faces and even longer noses. So this creator had a hilarious idea. What if you swapped their bodies? With this resource pack, regular villagers now look like iron villagers, and iron golems look like buff mega villagers. Now villagers are filled with these buff bare-chested villagers, but seriously, put a shirt on! Only sea creatures can be bucketed in Minecraft, but not anymore with the bucketable data pack. Now you can bucket anything from chickens, creepers, and even an enderman. Or if that's not enough, you can bucket the entire ender dragon and defeat it by just throwing it into some lava. This is a working airship in Minecraft, and it's insane! Normally, if you attach an alley to a boat and try to ride it, the lead snaps. But if you place a pig in the boat first, then attach the boat to an alley, you can ride the pig while the alley lifts the entire setup into the sky. Now, how do you control where this goes? You can actually throw wind charges at the alley to boost it in the direction you want to go. But here's a crazy part. You can make this airship completely self-sustaining. If you trap a breeze in the boat and then hop in, you can punch the wind charges it throws at you. If you want to travel dimensions in Minecraft, you have to go through either a nether portal or end portal. But if you want to change, try out the Dimensions painting mod. This mod allows you to move between dimensions by jumping through specialized paintings. But be careful, the paintings are one way. If you forget to take an overworld painting with you, you'll have a hard time getting back. Dang it, I'm stuck! If you try to make a diagonal fence in Minecraft, you'll have these giant gaps between them. Same thing for glass and wall blocks. However, with the Diagonal Fences mod by Fuzz, it actually makes the fences connect diagonally. It honestly looks quite nice. And with the Diagonal Walls and Diagonals Windows mods, you can do the same with walls and glass blocks. I really wished Minecraft could just add these features to the base game. Minecraft needs to add this. Normally, when you launch a block like sand using slime blocks, it just flies through the air, nothing special. But with the Vectorientation mod, it looks way more satisfying. This mod makes falling blocks like sand or anvils rotate to match the direction they're moving. They even squish and stretch based on their speed, which looks incredibly smooth. It's such a small detail, but it makes a huge difference. I just found something that completely ruins Minecraft. The sheepified resource pack makes every single mob look like a sheep. Anything from creepers, iron golems, ravagers, endermen, and squids. This feels like a horror movie where a sheep infection took over the entire world. But I haven't even showed you the worst part. The literal ender dragon is a sheep too. Get away from me! There's something insane you can do with happy gas. If you get one into a minecart, you can actually then build around it to decorate the ghast. You can create all kinds of decorations, like giving the ghast a crown, making the ghast blush, or even a monocle and a mustache to look like a detective. But if you're extra creative, you can even make the ghast look like the head of a giant statue. It's so scary! In the one block at a time April Fool's update, you're actually able to place a barrel on top of your head and walk around all sneakily. However, this feature was so cool, this creator brought the feature to the main game through a mod. It lets you place a barrel on your head and walk sneakily through your world. When you stay completely still, you look just like a normal barrel block that other players can interact with too. Please don't ever use this resource pack. This is a creeper-made resource pack, and it forces every creeper in the game to wear a maid's outfit. Although it's mostly just a quirky visual change, it actually lets you spot creepers easier since they can't camouflage with the grass as easily. This is the ugliest sheep I've ever seen. In the Minecraft movie trailer, they had this disgusting sheep that yells at you. But in the actual Minecraft game, the pink sheep actually looks somewhat normal. However, if you want to bring the movie sheep to your game, someone actually made a mod to bring the cursed model into your game. When the sheep goes bah, its mouth actually moves to this mod, which just feels so weird. I hate you! Have you ever drank a potion but been left with an extra bottle clogging your inventory? Tried to drop it but ended up picking it up again? Well, this mod has a solution for you. After drinking your potion, you can just eat up the glass bottle. Yummy! Try opening this door and you'll see it keeps glitching and freaking out. Once you finally manage to get through and try opening the chest, you'll have to spam click just to pry it open. You see, this is Fundy's annoying difficulty mod, and it makes Minecraft way harder. If you try to punch a wood block, you'll get splinters stuck in your arm and have to pry them out. Try swimming or mining and you'll get helpful tips that pop up to block your screen. You can't even carry too many items or else you'll become too heavy and eventually explode. Now, on top of the dozens of other features, if you eventually make it to the end, you have to play the game at the same time as playing Dance Dance Revolution with your arrow keys, or else you'll take damage. This is impossible! Which mob generates the most skulk? Passive mobs like pigs and rabbits only produce 2 to 3 skulk blocks. Surprisingly, villagers and iron golems don't generate any at all. Hostile mobs like zombies, creepers, and evokers each generate 5 skulk blocks, and even the powerful warden only produces 5. However, the ravager generates 20, and the wither generates the most at 50 skulk. Can the world border stop the end portal? Let's first try with a medium-sized border, and it still works. Now, if the border is partly into the portal, it works as well. Finally, if the world border is in the portal, let's test it. Looks like the end portal is stronger than the world border. The soul speed enchantment makes you travel at super speed on soul sand, but it used to be extremely broken. On this snapshot, if you use soul speed boots on soul sand, your boots will take damage until they have a negative durability. Can you get Minecraft's hardest advancement with just one potion? How Did We Get Here is notorious for requiring nearly every single potion effect at once. But using commands, you can create a potion with every effect stacked into it. In fact, the list is so long, you can't even read them all without shrinking your GUI scale. Just one splash of this potion, and you'll instantly complete Minecraft's hardest challenge. If you try to break suspicious sand, it will just turn into air. Even if you try to move it with a piston, the suspicious sand will drop no items. There is one way to get it though. If you place a bubble beam and let the sand fall onto it, the suspicious sand will eventually drop as an item. If you use a debug stick in one side of a double chest, it will create this glitched texture. Or you can debug stick the bottom side of a door to create an illegal door. Can you sleep in this bed? The bed is sticking halfway outside of the world border, but if you right-click it, you can actually sleep. But will you be able to grow a tree here? Let's see. And yep, how about using a dragon egg? The egg won't teleport outside of the border, but will go vertically up. That's so cool. When Silk Touch was first added, using it on a spawner would actually work. But when you placed it back down, something strange would happen. The spawner data will reset and would just turn into a pig spawner. Although the honey block may seem normal at first, there are several things you can't place on them, like buttons, levers, torches, pixels or pressure plates. This is because despite the fact it looks like a regular 16-pixel wide block, its hitbox is technically only 14 pixels wide and 15 pixels high, making it have the same hitbox as a chest. So if you can't place it on a chest, you can't place it on a honey block either. Funny enough, Bedrock Edition shows you the actual hitbox of the honey block when you look at it. But despite this, you actually are able to place buttons and pressure plates on them. Man, this is getting confusing. How do you get the uncraftable potion? You probably have seen it once or twice in the achievement menu, but what about getting the actual item? One way is by just giving yourself a potion. But if you don't want to be a cheater, just go to the 3D shareware update and you'll find the uncraftable potion in one of the barrels. Ladders are really weird. If you place a ladder down against any block, it becomes paper thin. For a clearer view, try placing a ladder on a barrier block. What's crazy is that it's even thinner than its dropped item form. The same goes for vines, where you can barely even see the texture from its side. Everyone knows evokers drop totems when killed, so here's a super cool MLG. Punch an evoker off a cliff and jump right after it. Just before you hit the ground, the evoker will drop the totem, saving you at the last second. Watching it in slow motion shows just how close you came to death. Attach a pig to a tall fence post and you've got yourself a game of tetherball. It's not too fun alone, but add some goats and they'll send the pig flying across the yard. Just remember to keep healing the pig, or it won't survive the game. You're able to send entities like boats and sheep through the end portal. Dream even sent primed TNT through it to explode hunters. However, one projectile you might not suspect is dripstone. If you drop a huge dripstone like this into the end portal and go through it, the dripstone will load in and end up killing you. Check out this strange phenomenon. Notice how one item floats higher than the others? If you think this trick has something to do with a carpet, you'd be right. Beneath the second item is actually wall blocks. When items are thrown on top of walls, they actually float higher than those on regular blocks. And by covering the top of the walls with a carpet, you can hide the walls and create this strange effect. Snowmen will burn in the nether, but will powdered snow save it? Powdered snow freezes all entities that enter it, so it makes sense for it to save the golem. However, try it out and you'll quickly learn that powdered snow won't help the golem at all. The only way the snow golem can live in the nether is if you give it fire resistance. If a zombie drowns underwater, it transforms into a drowned. But what happens if the giant mob drowns? Since it looks like a bigger version of a zombie, you might expect it to turn into a giant drowned. Unfortunately, that's not what happens. The giant simply dies. When you open your creative inventory, you'll notice a compass tab that lets you search for items. But I bet you didn't know that the compass here is actually functional. I always thought it was just a decoration, but it'll point you towards the world's spawn point. This is the world's largest redstone repeater, and it actually works. You might think making a functioning giant repeater is pretty easy, but you have to remember, this was built without using an actual repeaters in the redstone itself, and had to be built to emulate all of the repeater's functionalities, including changing its delay when you right-click and locking it with another repeater. This means that what seems like a pretty simple redstone component is actually full of a bunch of really complicated redstone circuits. Yet despite that, the whole thing works exactly like a real repeater does. It's pretty cool that this is even possible, but I think I'll stick to just crafting my repeaters using some stone and redstone torches instead of wasting all of my iron on a ton of pistons. This is not a dead bush! Do you see it? That's right, it's placed on grass. The dead bushes can only be on top of sand. This is actually called a shrub, and since it looks so similar to the dead bush, they were actually merged together on 1.13, and now only desert bushes exist. If you summon the giant mob, you'll quickly find out that it has no AI. It won't even burn in the sun. However, if you've ever wanted a functioning giant, all you have to do is summon a regular zombie and increase its scale by 6. Now the giant will try to attack us. If you place an item frame on a lectern, the textures will collide into one another. However, if you use an invisible item frame, place a gold block inside, and build a structure around it, you'll have yourself an arcade machine. You can spin the gold block around, and it'll look like a joystick controller. Or you can also just put a banner inside, and it'll look like an arrow. The Totem of Undying is meant to save you from death, but does it work in the void? Jump in and... nope, you'll still die. With 8 chiseled stone bricks and a netherite, you'll craft the lodestone block. Most people don't know that if you right-click it with a compass, and the compass will start pointing at the block. Slimes can already get pretty small if you split them in half, but unfortunately, after splitting them twice, they can't get any smaller. But by using the attribute command, we have a way to create a slime that's so microscopic, you might not even notice it's there. This little guy is literally smaller than a single pixel, and if you had him on grass, you honestly might mistake him for a grass particle due to how small he is. If a zombie's head stays underwater for 30 seconds, it turns into a drowned. But what if you give it a water-breathing potion? Will that stop the transformation? After waiting, the zombie still converts into a drowned, so water breathing doesn't save them. Can a Vindicator attack a villager surrounded by rails? Nope, the Vindicator isn't very smart. What if the villager is surrounded by trapdoors? The Vindicator runs straight into the void, unable to tell the trapdoors are flipped. For something even funnier, try surrounding a villager with pistons and pressure plates. The Vindicators will charge at the villager but end up activating the pistons instead, running around in circles, trying to find a way in, and never succeeding. Well, building a 4x4 vault door really isn't that complicated. Just watch a single tutorial and you'll pretty much have it figured out. But if you wanted to scale up that 4x4 vault door to use mega blocks, well, that's a lot more challenging. But as you can see here, not impossible. With a bunch of flying machines to carry the facade of the blocks in unison, crafty Masterman was able to create a supersized version of a regular piston door to scale, with an accurate opening sequence too. He even went out of his way to recreate the movement of pistons that you can barely see in the finished door, which is really commitment to the concept. Dinnerbone name tags make mobs flip upside down, but will they sleep upside down as well? If you name a villager and set it to night, the villager will just go to sleep normally. But once it turns day again, the villager will wake up walking on its head. Oh, that must hurt. Don't go near this creeper. It may seem completely normal, but it's not. It was summoned with a custom explosion radius, and when you go near it, it'll cause a nuclear explosion. You can use these supercharged creepers to blow up entire villages. Previously, I said that this chessboard was made using the immersive Portals mod, but I found a way to create it in vanilla Minecraft. Using block displays, you're able to create tiny blocks, and I was able to create this board. Theoretically, functional chess pieces can be made as well from the block displays, but I'll leave that up to the pro command blockers to add. This sword is illegal! Although it just looks like a normal golden sword, if you take a look at the enchantments, you'll see they're stacked super long with a bunch of duplicates. The item is impossible to get in the latest version, but on this version, piglins had a chance to spawn with these insanely powerful swords. If you activated a nether reactor core in Minecraft Pocket Edition, the blocks around it would turn to glowing obsidian. What's pretty cool is that you could actually mine it in this state, and you could keep the glowing obsidian. I wish this still existed. I can't believe this works. Healing potions damage undead mobs like zombies and skeletons, and it turns out another strange mob counts as undead. The Wither! Healing potions will actually damage the Wither, so you can kill one of the deadliest bosses by just throwing potions of healing. Did you know villager raids can start in the end dimension? Most people think raids can only happen in the overworld, but this isn't the case. To create a village, all you need is one bed and one villager. Then if you get near it with the bad omen effect, a raid will occur, and pillagers will spawn for you to take down. However, this feature gets even stranger. If you create a village in the nether and then start a raid, nothing will happen here. So pillager raids only work in the overworld and the end. How many armored wolves will it take to kill one warden? Let's first try with 5 armored wolves, and they all get slaughtered by the warden. Okay, what about 15 armored wolves? This time it's much closer, but the warden still slays the wolves. If you want to kill the warden, you'll need at least 17 armored wolves, just as long as you're okay with not all of them making it to the end of the fight. Did you know that if you give a piglin a diamond chestplate, it'll wear it? But if you toss it a gold chestplate afterward, the piglin will swap out the diamond for the gold. However, there's a twist. If you give a diamond chestplate enchanted with Curse of Binding and then throw the gold chestplate, the piglin will just hold on to the extra golden chestplate in its other hand. Who will win? One warden or 100 zombified piglins? The battle kicks off with the warden striking down a noisy piglin, and instantly the rest of the piglins come running towards the warden. The warden is only able to attack a single mob at a time, so eventually all the piglins will bully the warden and defeat it. Landing on dripstone will hurt a lot, and landing in water cancels all fall damage. But what will happen if you land on a waterlogged dripstone? There are 2 possible outcomes. In Java Edition, the water will protect you, and you'll take no damage at all. But in Bedrock, you'll still get hurt by the pointy dripstone. You can break Minecraft's character limit. If you've ever signed a book in Quill, you might have noticed that you can only fit 16 characters in the title. But there is a way around this. You can put the same book into an anvil and name the book up to 50 entire characters long. The one downside of this method is that the book title will be italicized after getting put through an anvil. If you try to spawn both an iron and snow golem at the same time, only the snow golem will get spawned. Which dripstone do you think will do more damage? A giant dripstone or a tiny one? If you drop the first dripstone, the villager somehow survives, but dropping the second one actually kills the villager. What's going on is actually quite simple. Dripstone damage is calculated based on how high it falls from and not how long the dripstone is. Look at this error block. It happens on Java Edition when a texture is missing. Fun fact, the black and purple textures are that way because they're so eye-catching and let developers know something is wrong. If you give a fox a red carpet, it will bite it, making it look like the fox has a red tongue sticking out. Considering how tricky foxes are to to catch, it almost feels like the fox is taunting you with its tongue. You can break Minecraft with just potatoes. If you drop a potato on top of a bubble stream, it'll bounce up and down. On its own, that won't cause much lag. But if you use command blocks to summon tons of potatoes, the sheer number of entities and particles will quickly overwhelm the game, eventually causing it to crash. The potato stream does look pretty cool though. What if the Ender Dragon goes to the Nether? It's a lot stranger than you think. If you set a bunch of Nether portal blocks, the Ender Dragon will actually just break through them. However, if you use the Immersive Portals mod, something crazy happens. Once the Ender Dragon enters the Immersive Portal, a ton of dragons end up getting spawned. This is because whenever the dragon is missing from the main island, a new dragon gets spawned to replace it. But here, whenever a new dragon spawns, it immediately enters the Nether, causing a new dragon to spawn repeatedly. Flying too fast into a wall with an elytra usually causes damage. But what happens if you crash into these different blocks? Fly into cobwebs and you'll safely get caught. Slime blocks, which normally bounce you, still cause collision damage. One layer of powdered snow makes you take damage, but making it 3 layers will actually catch you. Water, as expected, saves you, and surprisingly, so does lava. Applying bone meal directly to netherrack has no effect. However, if you bone meal netherrack next to either crimson or warped nylium, the nylium will spread to the netherrack. If both types of nylium are next to the same netherrack block, the transformation is random. The netherrack could turn into either crimson or warped nylium. Can an enderman teleport across the world border? You can test it by shrinking the border, replacing the floor with water and placing the enderman on a single block. Then break the block, and the enderman will teleport outside the border. But can it walk through the border to attack you? If you stare at the enderman from the other side, it'll charge at you but get stopped by the border. However, after a moment, it'll just teleport through and finish the job. With the weakness 255 potion effect, you deal no damage at all because your attacks are too weak to register. So what happens if you swing a sharpness 255 sword while under weakness 255? First, without weakness, the sharpness 255 sword deals a massive 136 points of damage. But once weakness is applied, a normal netherite sword deals nothing. However, the sharpness 255 sword still packs a punch, hitting for 128 points of damage. By using the Immersive Portals mod, we can create what looks like a tiny village full of villagers sitting on top of a single block. And since we can interact with the entire thing from above, it's almost like we're the god of our very own Minecraft version of The Sims. Of course, in The Sims, you can't pour buckets of lava on all of the houses or drop TNT on random villagers, so maybe it's less like The Sims and more like torturing ants in an ant farm. The end portal destroys all blocks inside when you light it. But what if villagers are sleeping inside? Will they be deleted as well? Once the final eye is put in, all the villagers and beds disappear. When we enter the end, however, we'll find the villagers and even some broken bed items. Spectator mode is special because it usually doesn't allow you to interact with the world. However, in Bedrock Edition, there's an exception. You can collect experience orbs while in spectator mode. I feel like I'm hacking! People love building crazier and crazier piston doors using unbelievable obscure redstone mechanics. But what's the largest piston door possible? Well, given that the Minecraft world is only 384 blocks tall, that would be the theoretical limit to how big a square door can be. So I give you the largest possible piston door in Minecraft, created by Lord John 25, and coming in at a total size of 384 by 384 blocks. It does take a ridiculous amount of time to fully open, but given that you really only need the door to be slightly cracked to actually walk through, you can probably go off on a single mining adventure and be back before this thing actually finishes opening, at which point you can close it up again, and then probably need to go back out before it actually closes. Yeah, there's really nothing practical about having a door this big, but it is pretty cool to brag about. If you build 2 end portals side by side and light up all the frame blocks, will both portals be activated? When you place the final eye, only one of them gets lit. You can change which one activates by changing the orientation of the middle blocks. How quickly will you mine with an efficiency 255 pickaxe and mining fatigue 255? Normally, efficiency 255 lets you insta-mine almost anything, while mining fatigue 255 makes it impossible to mine at all. But when you combine the two, the pickaxe slightly overpowers the fatigue, letting you mine up the obsidian. What if you could enchant any item? Well, on Snapchat 12W49A, there was a bug that let you. It could be done with anything from blaze rods to even dirt blocks. This dirt block is super powerful. Can waterlogged leaves save a villager? I encased a villager in a few waterlogged leaves and lit this massive area of TNT. After the explosion, I checked on the villager, and he actually survived. Somehow, tree leaves can protect the villager from a nuclear blast. This is a gravity block duper. It worked on older versions of Bedrock Edition. If you send blocks like sand or gravel through it, it'll convert convert to any random item. So if you leave it on for a while, you'll eventually get items like the border block, fire block, bedrock, jigsaw, and light block, all from survival mode. Llama spit can be very annoying, but it doesn't do that much damage. If you're a psychopath and want it to be even deadlier, you can place fire in front of the llama. Now when it spits at players, the spit will actually catch on fire, making it much deadlier. What happens if you light an M portal with pistons inside? Well, as you might have expected, the pistons get completely deleted. When you hoe a dirt block, it turns into farmland. But if you ever wanted the item, if you try to pick it up, it'll just turn back into dirt. Silk touch won't even work on it. So how do you get it? Well, you'll have to go to the one block at a time update, grab the farmland, and then chuck it on your head. When you transfer the world to the latest version, you'll have the item. Who would win, 100 killer bunnies or 100 wolves? Normally rabbits are helpless against wolves, but summon a killer rabbit and it'll fight back. Just spawn the bunnies and wolves, then open the barrier to start the battle. You'll quickly see it's not even close. The wolves dominate. But what about 200 killer bunnies versus 100 wolves? This time when the barrier drops, the fight is much closer. The wolves put up a strong fight, but in the end, the bunnies take the win. This is just a giant scale model of a piston, right? Wrong! Because at the flick of a lever, this supersized piston will actually extend out. Then once we flip the lever, the piston retracts. How crazy is that? It works by using an absolute fleet of slime block flying machines all sitting next to each other, each moving a tiny part of the piston's outside texture in sync to create the illusion of a giant moving block. The one downside to this, of course, is the fact that this piston is painstakingly slow to watch it extend and retract. But the fact that this is something you could just build in survival without any cheats is absolutely mind-boggling to me. What's the best enchantment for armor? Protection and breaking, or maybe even thorns? How about none of them? Because when you enchant your armor on this old version, you just get the enchanted enchantment on your equipment. I guess this is the best. When you log off while riding a boat, does the boat log off with you? I joined a LAN world, got on a boat, and then logged off, and the boat actually logged off with the player. The same goes for other rideable entities like horses, where they disappear with the player. What if every pixel in Minecraft was an entire block? Well, that's exactly the question that Nuba sought to answer, and they did, by building this entire island at 10 times the scale of a normal Minecraft world. Well, technically it's 16 times, but that's not important. Anyways, at this size, a single large block contains 4,096 regular blocks inside, so destroying this one oak log will probably give you more wood than cutting down an entire forest. What's extra special about this map is that it's actually completely beatable, with a giant nether build and a giant end build, complete with a dragon to defeat. Even though there are plenty of resources at your disposal here, actually playing this map all the way to the end is sure to be a huge challenge, literally. You probably know of the zombie villager jockey, but turns out you can convert the zombie with a golden apple and a weakness potion. Once it heals, you'll end up with an illegal villager riding a chicken. In older versions of Bedrock Edition, you could get the end gateway block. You had to place down stone blocks like this, and then by spawning the wither on its side, it'll cause the end gateway to break into an item. Unfortunately, this bug doesn't work in the latest version, but it was a cool glitch you could have done back then. Eating a chorus fruit teleports you up to 8 blocks away. However, most people don't know that chorus fruit can actually be used to teleport outside of the world border. You can even set the world border really tiny, and you'll be sent straight outside. If you drop anvils over an entire village, will anyone survive? When you update one of the anvils, all the rest will come crashing down in a cascading pattern. All villagers in the open will be crushed. In the end, only villagers inside of the houses and iron golems survived. If you break a tripwire hook, it actually plays the same sound as shooting a bow. For comparison, here's the sound effects side by side. I guess Mojang was just feeling lazy with this one. What is the smallest gap you can walk through? We can easily fit through 0.9 blocks. But how about 0.8 blocks? Yep, still works. At 0.7 blocks, it starts getting tight, and by 0.6 blocks, we can't fit anymore. But if we increase it to 0.61 blocks wide, we're able to just barely fit through the gap. You can recreate this in survival mode using walls, fences, and slabs to make a tight gap you can just barely fit through. The overpowered mace can send you into orbit with a single hit. Normally, when you hit a mob using a mace enchanted with wind burst, you'll be sent up in the air, allowing you to fall back down and chain multiple mace hits in a row. The higher the enchantment level, the higher wind burst sends you. So by using commands to obtain a mace with wind burst 100, we can smack attack a mob and get sent over 1,300 blocks into the sky. As amazing as this is, it's not exactly very convenient, as you're probably going to have a hard time landing your hit when it takes over 20 seconds to land back on the ground. Can you MLG with a nether portal? It takes 4 seconds to go through one, so you'll need to build a really tall portal. Lighting it with flint and steel won't work. You'll have to use commands to create the portal blocks. Then if you jump from the top, you'll enter the nether before hitting the ground. However, your momentum will carry over and you'll still die. This is Mojang's official depiction of what Minecraft's overworld would look like from space. It comes from the 2023 April Fool's update called the Vote Update, where players could vote on what features they want added to the game. One of those features is a new moon dimension, where if you look into the sky, you can see a planet, meant to represent the regular overworld. Man, every build you've ever made, every biome you've yet to explore, all visible as a little square in the sky? Or is it a cube or an octagon? Or maybe it's actually in the shape of a teapot. You know what? I'm starting to think that this depiction of the overworld may not be super official after all. You've seen small bases, but have you ever seen a base that was literally 1 block in size? Okay, maybe base is a strong word, but still, with just placing a single composter with a trapdoor on top, we can instantly pop up this tiny little box, which by closing the trapdoor, we can actually stand inside. Completely safe from any nearby threats! It may not have a bed or chest or crafting table or, well, anything. But hey, a home's a home. Using the /item replace command, you can place a spyglass on your head slot and it looks funky. Then when you use a spyglass regularly, it'll look almost like you're holding binoculars. Well, sort of. You can get snowy grass as an item? Most people think it only exists as a block, but that's not true! To get it, travel to the infinite dimension snapshot, write in a book Sky Grid, and locate the snowy grass block. Once you find it, transfer your world to the 1 block at a time update and put the block on your head. You can now update your world, and you'll have the actual item. Instead of just digging 1 void hole, why not dig 2? Because by doing so, you can fly beneath one of them and straight into another. Your friends will think you're crazy flying down there, but you'll just be headed towards your secret base. This is a hydraulic press. If you throw coal down, the machine will press it down and turn it into a diamond. This other machine compacts a Herobrine skull into the ground. It looks pretty terrifying. Most players think blazes can only shoot fire charges, but if you get close to them, they'll also melee attack you. If you drop a dripstone onto a villager standing in cobweb, the cobweb will actually save the villager. But that's not the only block that can protect the villager. Place a villager in powdered snow, and it somehow protects it from dripstone damage as well. How about sugarcane? Nope, the villager dies this time. Okay, what if a villager is swimming in water? Yep, water will protect the villager from dripstone. When ender ships were first added, you could find a handwritten book written by one of the developers, Surge. The book said, "We will have something else here soon," which is true, since the Elytra placed it in the following updates. You can make nether portals up to 23 by 23 blocks large. But what will happen if 2 portals are crossed? Well, it'd be pretty cool for both portals to be activated. Mojang coded it in so only one of the portals turns on. Getting in and out of your animal pens can be really annoying. And while there are some tricks like using carpets to easily get in and out without letting your animals escape, I think I prefer more of an open floor plan. You see, by spacing out our fence posts on a diagonal, they aren't actually connected to each other, meaning there are gaps between each post that we can walk through, while our animals are still left stuck on the inside. This solution is almost perfect for most cases, but if you ever decide to breed your mobs, you might end up with babies that are just small enough to squeeze through if you aren't careful. So don't say I didn't warn you! What would it look like if you had a firework with every single effect on it? Normally, there isn't a way to do this, as we can only put a maximum of 7 firework stars on a rocket in survival mode. But by using commands, we're able to obtain a special rocket with so many effects that they can hardly fit on the screen, even with your GUI scale turned down as low as it goes. So I'm sure you're wondering, what does it look like when we set it off? Well, if you're expecting the most beautiful firework you've ever seen, then be prepared to be disappointed. Instead, it just spits out a bunch of ugly, multicolored particles all at once, making a nonsensical mess of color that would just be a waste of resources if you could actually craft it. However, it does make for a pretty good weapon, since every effect makes a firework deal even more damage. Doors have small holes in them, but trying to shoot arrows through them doesn't work. You can even see the arrow poking through the other side. Trying it on fences and trapdoors also doesn't work. However, shooting arrows under the gaps of beds and the gap between cauldrons actually works. Whenever a raid begins, villagers will rush to ring the bell. However, we control them by setting up trapdoors and lava. Now, start the raid, and as the villagers try to ring the bell, they'll fall right into the lava. Before 1.20, anvils used to crush items, but something lesser known was that if an anvil fell on a shulker box, just the box would break, and all the items would explode outwards. If you dropped shulker box boxes full of items down a tube and then dropped an anvil on top, it'd cause all the boxes to break, and the items would explode outward like a pretty fountain. Under special conditions, mobs can fly using elytras. If you just summon a zombie with an elytra, it won't be able to use it and will fall straight to the ground. You have to specifically enable the full flying property. This setting allows the mob to use the elytra and glide towards the ground. It looks quite funky because the mob tilts its head upwards as it flies. It even works on mobs without visible armor slots like pigs and even slimes, so you can have all kinds of mobs gliding down from the sky. Using block display entities, we're able to create smaller versions of blocks, and through the help of mods and plugins, we can actually automatically convert our builds into smaller versions built using block displays. We could shrink a whole village and stomp around to feel like a giant, or we could design miniature statues that we can use to decorate our base. What's extra fun is the fact that we can use the attribute command to shrink ourselves down and actually enter this super tiny house. I guess the only problem is that none of these are actually real blocks, so you can't interact with them in any way. Still, this definitely opens up the door to many new creative visuals. This is how you break your shield in 0.1 seconds. Just summon a warden and give it strength 255. Then switch to survival mode. Hold out your shield and watch as the warden shatters it in a single hit. Ah! Every item needs to have a name. If you try to delete the name in an anvil, you won't be able to take out the item. But on this version, it wasn't the case. Here you were able to straight up delete the name of an item and get the illegal nameless item. What will move diamonds faster? An alley, hoppers, or water? Starting from 32 blocks away, the water stream will come in first, the hoppers second, and the alley was too far to even come. However, if we start from 16 blocks away, the alley is first, the water is second, and the hoppers third. I guess the alley is sort of useful. If you break a block underneath an enderman, will it place a block to save its life? I broke the block below it, and the enderman unfortunately isn't smart enough to save itself. Okay, what if you place a block of sand inside an enderman? Will it pick up the block letting water in? At first, nothing seems to happen, but eventually the enderman will pick up the block and end up letting water kill itself. You are not smart! What's the most poisonous food in Minecraft? The raw chicken comes in 4th place with only a 30% chance of causing hunger. The poisonous potato comes in 3rd place with a 60% chance. The rotten flesh has understandably a 80% chance. And the most poisonous food in Minecraft is pufferfish, which will give you poison 100% of the time. There are 4 enchantments you can put on the fishing rod, but how about the carrot on stick? When you try to enchant the carrot on stick in an enchanting table, nothing will happen. But on version 1.8.2 pre-6, there was a glitch where you could just combine an enchanted fishing rod with a carrot, and the enchantments would actually transfer. Peaceful mode is overpowered! If you switch your game difficulty to peaceful mode, TNT explosions will not harm you at all. No matter the amount of TNT you detonate, you will remain completely safe. What happens if you shear a Jeb sheep? It's constantly changing colors. So will it give you a random wool color? When you try to shear it, it ends up just giving you the wool of the original sheep color before it was named Jeb. Can you look in an enderman's eye while using a spyglass? Nope, the enderman will still get angry at you. In Java Edition, trying to grow a tree at the build limit is pointless. The sapling won't grow, no matter how much bone meal you use. However, in Bedrock Edition, a sapling at the build limit will grow into a single log, replacing the sapling itself. When you shoot a firework from a crossbow, you can guide where the firework goes with blocks. The firework will continue its flight until its fuse goes off, and you can increase how long it takes to explode by adding gunpowder into the crafting recipe. Even if you shoot fireworks straight into the ground, its flight path will be adjusted by the blocks until it explodes. If you shrink yourself down with the scale attribute command, will you fit underneath a fence block? There's a huge gap underneath, but for some reason the player still can't go through. However, there's a 1 pixel gap for the honey block, and you can actually fit right through the small gap. You can even fit underneath the azalea bush. You can spawn an iron golem upside down. But what happens when you try to spawn 2 golems with 1 pumpkin? The top golem only ends up getting spawned. If you try to spawn 2 withers at once, only 1 will spawn as well. It used to be a meme that one day redstone will become so advanced that we could create Minecraft in Minecraft. But it's not just a meme anymore. This insane redstone computer houses all of the code necessary to run a simplified version of Minecraft, made entirely out of redstone in the vanilla game. It comes mining, crafting, smelting, working chests, and yes, even the ability to place blocks. This machine is of course so complicated that the game runs really slow, with a single frame literally taking hours to process. So it's not very fun or easy to play unless you make the server run at 10,000 times the speed. Regardless, I don't think Redstone will ever get any better than this. This is easily the biggest Redstone accomplishment in all of Minecraft history. Will I survive if these arrows fall on me while I'm sleeping? I went into the bed and replaced the blocks above me with air, letting the arrows drop. Turns out they just kick you out of bed and you barely lose any hearts. And what about tridents? I went to bed, the tridents fell, and nothing. No damage at all. And I slept right through the night. Okay, TNT has to do the trick, right? I dropped primed TNT above me while sleeping, but somehow didn't lose a single heart. This is the tiniest block in Minecraft and you can barely even see it. You may have seen that by using block displays. We can make a single block the size of a pixel, and this is pretty cool, but we can go even smaller. Block displays can just keep shrinking and shrinking until eventually you're left with a block that's so small you'll probably need tweezers to try and build with it. We can get a slightly better look at this block by shrinking ourselves down as small as we can go, which does make it easier to see, but by replacing this regular cobblestone block with a stone button, we've now got something so tiny I'd probably just mistake it for a speck of dust on my monitor. Seriously, I don't think there's anything else in Minecraft that can get anywhere near this small. Did you know mobs can ride axolotls? If you spawn a villager on top of one, it'll speed around pretty fast. But if you summon some zombies on axolotls, they'll chase the villagers even faster. To top it off, summoning iron golems on axolotls will cause them to chase and take out all the zombies. This whole situation just looks so cursed. If a chest is outside of the world border, it can't be opened. But what if half the chest is inside the border while the other half is outside? Surprisingly, you can still open it. It's impossible to put both infinity and mending on a bow because the developers thought it'd be too overpowered. However, from versions 1.9 to 1.11, it was actually still possible. So if you applied mending on your bow at this time, you'd have an illegal bow. But what's even stranger is if you drop a feather on top of a drip leaf, it'll collapse. However, if you drop an anvil on top, it'll be perfectly fine. You can even jump on top of the anvil and the dripstone will still hold you up. Here's how to break a fishing rod almost instantly. Just use an auto clicker with a fishing rod on a mob, and it'll cause the durability to melt down super quickly. You're able to shred through multiple fishing rods with this method. Not sure why you'd want to do this, but the option is here. If 2 dinnerbone sheep are bred, will the baby sheep be upside down as well? I tried it. However, the baby ended up spawning just like normal. This is because name tags don't transfer when breeding mobs. However, if you kill a parent slime, the dinnerbone name tag will transfer to the baby slimes.